Yeah, Matthew Britton. I'm the General Manager here at Third Space Mayfair. I was overseeing the expansion project in the most recent, introducing kind of this performance lab to part of what we offer. Yeah, of course, so the lab is really for everyone. I think the age-old thing with kind of performance and sports science is it's for kind of elite athletes, whereas we're bringing that tech and kind of that data available to kind of your everyday member. So in essence, it's testing protocols that allow our members to get personalised insights into their training, where they're at, any kind of areas they need to focus on, and kind of help them get to where they need to be.
Yeah, my name is Chris Stanton and I'm the Performance Master Trainer. So our Performance Lab is situated in Mayfair. It's the only place it is in our clubs. Essentially our Performance Lab is giving our members tangible information of which to assess where they're currently at, a benchmark of their performance, utilising a movement screening, a VO2 max, force plate, so assessing strength, movement, and cardiovascular capability. And then from there on, having the ability to retest and looking at that progress. Once people understand the metrics they get and the real valuable insight, that's when we'll see the acceleration and participation and want and need and desire to essentially have their performance benchmarked. So looking at the Performance Lab from essentially a research perspective and why we've put this into our clubs at Third Space, if we look at the data and relevant science around longevity and performance still being, can I function as I get older? Sports as in single modality, running, cycling, and now Hyrox, which is like hybrid. People want to know where they're currently at and how they can progress. But in terms of research, the research around strength training and particularly VO2 are really key drivers to help people understand how they're going to age better in terms of longevity, but also the quality at which they age as well.
Yeah, so my name's Aston Burke-Flynn. I'm one of the personal trainers and performance lab specialists. Yeah, so given that we do it throughout all the clubs, we'll meet them, or I'll meet them upstairs at the concierge. Just a little meet and greet, quick couple-minute chat. Then we'll bring them downstairs, everything into the lockers, and then I'll usually meet them at the height machine to determine their height. After that, then it's into the room, quickly on the in-body, just to get the kind of basic information off them, and then it's a sit-down. The main thing about the sit-down, it's nearly in two parts. One is to explain what's going to happen throughout the testing, but more so than that, it's nearly like a little disarming thing, because there's a lot of nerves. I've noticed as people come in, they think it's going to be like quite intense, very like exerting for the most part. So it's just to let them know that it's not going to be that bad. They can relax a little bit. Once that's done, then you explain what's going to happen. They have a clearer understanding of it. Then we move into the actual tests themselves. So the first one's the movement screening test. After that, then we go into the force plates. So movement test does about 8 exercises and it's split between movement and mobility. So you have things like your overhead squat, thoracic rotation, and like ankle flexion. Then the force plates are going to be a test of power, explosive power and strength, and balance as well. After that, we have the dynamo, so that's going to be grip test or grip strength test. And then we go into the VO2 max. So the VO2 max for the most part seems to be what 90% of people are really in to see what the results are. So that usually takes about 20-25 minutes from start to finish. We'll get all the testing or all the setup done, which takes 5-10 minutes. And then the actual test itself takes anywhere maybe 15 to 20 minutes. So that puts them either on the Wattbike or on the treadmill, depending on their kind of experience in endurance training. After that, back in here, go over their results, and then a sweat analysis test to finish off to pretty much explain to them the sodium concentrate in their sweat, so that if they are an endurance athlete, so they know how to hydrate with electrolytes and water and balance it correctly over like a long 3-hour marathon or half marathon Ironman or whatever they might be doing.
I am Tim and I am personal trainer, performance lab sort of supervisor, sometimes told head of performance. Yeah, so a few different hats, but at the moment running the lab. So years ago, I think my boss, Josh, he's our head of education, had the idea from what he told me. And then it's kind of sat in the background for a while, and slowly, I think as the awareness of VO2 max, force plate assessments, all this stuff has become mainstream. There just became more of an appetite for it. So I think they bit the bullet on it possibly last year, before that, but last year is when we sort of got things ordered and got things set up and ready to roll. The type of members we're getting across the board, to be honest. The good thing about the lab is that it is for everyone. How you advertise it and how you talk to someone about their results varies upon their goal. So for example, we all know VO2 max with a Wattbike, its utility traditionally was in high performance cycling. But I've got a guy, the last guy I saw, the type of member that we get here, he's just recreationally cycling from Milan to Rome. So there's obviously crossover there. But we're seeing a lot of guys now who are just interested in the longevity statistic that VO2 max can give you. So it's intrinsically linked to long-term health. Nowadays, a lot of research about it dictating your risk of all-cause mortality. So across the board, from, as I say, the old elite cyclists, where there's still an application for that, but now all the way down to your everyday person, you can the VO2 max data specifically will give you lots of good information about how your fitness is at the moment, but more importantly for a lot of people, how it is linked to your health and whether there's still more there to be gained. Certain VO2 numbers, for example, very low numbers show that you're probably at an increased risk for certain health issues, all the way up to death. And if you improve your fitness, improve that score, you see a huge decrease in those risk factors. So yeah, to answer your question, we're seeing everyone across the board at the moment, recreational people, and as well as the sort of more elite performance-based guys. The metrics we're using with all tests, ventilatory threshold, specifically ventilatory threshold 1, ventilatory threshold 2 and VO2 max. That translates to the everyday person as, you could say, aerobic threshold, anaerobic threshold and VO2 max or maximum capacity. Simply put, your aerobic sort of steady state fitness, the more lactate threshold based HIIT fitness, and then obviously that maximal ability at the end. We're measuring the same as the metrics that you'd get probably anywhere else. Really, what I'm finding is people don't know how to train for cardio. Cardio is, I just do cardio. That's most people's method of training cardio. I run. You might find people run 10K, they might run 5K, but basically they run it and they just repetitively do that. Yes, sometimes the times get better if they're trying to run a bit faster, but invariably they just do that over the course of a few years. And as we know, it slowly deteriorates as we get older. You don't really see that with weight training. Some people with weight training do 1 rep max training. They do a little bit of high reps. They vary it, whereas with cardio, you don't really see that differentiation. And so I think the big thing we're seeing, how I'm finding here, is I'm getting the data, and now I can tell people, right, you've got to work on this number, doing long steady state stuff. You now need to do a bit of HIIT stuff as well, and here's the number you're working towards. But also you need to do that top end maximal stuff as well, with enough rest to make sure you're really pushing in. So I think the big thing for me is having data now where I can give people a varied and diversified cardio workout, not just go out and run 5K. Yeah, so the bike interfaces very well with our VO2 max testing system. So it's a ramp protocol, and normally on a bike you'd up the gears, up the resistance, and slowly get them to increase their wattage. Our VO2 max testing software links to the bike, so it will, depending on what protocol we've asked or set, it will ramp up the resistance slowly and make them achieve that wattage themselves. So we don't need to do any adjustment. If they have a high cadence, it will naturally lower the resistance to meet that wattage that's required. If they maybe sit at a slightly lower cadence, but they're more powerful rider, again, the Wattbike will make the adjustments. So the AtomX is the self-adjusting, and how it interfaces with our test is why the AtomX is probably quite useful. And for your beginners, it's a no-brainer. Like, them messing around with resistance levels where they may not necessarily understand too well, it's great. It does all the hard work for us. It just will find their wattage and it will keep them there until we require them to go up. And then for your professionals, it's great as well, because obviously those guys can just sit back and just focus on trying to achieve their max, VO2 max. And we've had an 80, I think it was 86 on the AtomX, which is our highest so far, which is pretty good. For me, Wattbike, I mean, I'm not a huge cyclist. Wattbike's the only name I know. Wattbike, the link between Wattbike and British cycling has been enough for me. For me, Wattbike has always been the one cyclists have used. It's always been the one recommended to me by the pro cyclists and things like that. So it wasn't really a choice. It was, I literally don't know of any other brand that's probably got the same impact that Wattbike has. So it wasn't really a choice. It was always going to be Wattbike, probably defining which within the range it was going to be. We want something that's suitable for your everyday client, not just the top end guys that are familiar with gearing. So it's probably more of that discussion rather than which brand.
Well, mainly the thing that I like most about that is that it's sort of hassle-free. You don't need to worry about no one's going to really fall off the bike. Where there is a little bit of a fear factor on that is people can't dismount the treadmill correctly. The other side, as I said, the low impact benefits of it, that it's not going to be massive on the joints. And yeah, if people like the other side, if people just don't like running, some people don't like running and some people prefer to cycle, it gives them another option as opposed to just going one size fits all, get on the treadmill. It gives them another option so they can feel more comfortable. Even that side of the coin, if people feel more comfortable cycling, subconsciously they're probably going to do better on the bike anyway, because that's what they're used to, is what they know.